Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty end with sharp cuts at the low point of the day. The Sensex below 79,000. The Nifty loses over 200 points. All sectoral indices barring IT end in the red. Adani Group shares decline for the second day after allegations by Hindenburg against SEBI Chief Madhabi Puri Butch. A petition in the Supreme Court calls for completion of the SEBI probe into the Adani Group. Congress Party announces a nationwide agitation on the 22nd of August demanding the removal of the SEBI Chief.
3, 2, 1.
Brainbees Solutions, which owns and runs First Cry, lists at a 40% premium. Ratan Tata, Anand Mahindra and Sachin Tendulkar are among the early investors. SoftBank-backed Unicommerce also sees a bumper debut, listing at a premium of 118%. Bajaj Auto revs up its CNG play weeks after launching the Freedom 125. Sources say the auto giant plans to increase monthly production capacity to 10,000 by August and 20,000 by October. Doctors and healthcare professionals protest across the country for the second day. This after a 31-year-old junior doctor was allegedly raped and murdered at a Kolkata hospital by a civic volunteer. The Calcutta High Court pulls up the state government and transfers the probe to the CBI. Mohammad Yunus, the chief advisor to the Bangladesh interim government, visits the iconic Dhakeshwari National Temple, says establishing human rights is the government's prime goal. The police files a murder case against Sheikh Hasina and 6 others in connection with the death of a grocery shop owner who was killed in police firing last month. Hamas-run Palestine Health Ministry alleges over 140 deaths in Gaza in the last 2 days. As Israeli forces continue to pound the region, Iran rejects the call for restraint by European leaders, says they consider retaliation against Israel for killing the Hamas political chief their right. The US deploys additional military assets in West Asia. And as Indigo gears up for business class operations, the CNBC-TV18 analysis shows the airline stands to make more money on the same aircraft with fewer seats and potentially disrupt the premium flying segment. A special report up ahead. Hindalco beats estimates with profits more than doubling in the first quarter. The board appoints Kumaramangalam Birla's children, Ananya Birla and Aryaman Birla, as additional non-executive directors. Well, we do have a packed show lined up for you, but first up, as always, the day's market action, where we saw the Sensex and the Nifty failing to hold on to the recovery and closing at the day's low. So the Sensex slipping below the 79,000 mark, closing almost 700 points lower, cut of 1% there. For the Nifty, 24,139, 200 points lower. The Nifty Bank lost about 700 points, 1.5% lower. The Nifty IT index just about managing to close in positive territory, but absolutely flat today. So that was the picture as far as our markets were concerned. Today, we saw the markets lose ground. Surbi standing by to wrap up the day's market action for us. Surbi, a down day on the Dalal-Street.
Absolutely. And we were sort of lonely in our tryst with the red side of the screen today because India was a rank underperformer. While we were trading, most of the Asian markets did really well. In fact, the Nikkei was up about 3.5% as it came back from a holiday. European markets were in green. So this really stands out. I mean, all kinds of guesses here, but some say that maybe there is some residual uncertainty with all that's happening around Hindenburg and what's happening on the political front as well. So maybe people using that as an excuse to book some profits. Anyway, for what it's worth is that the Nifty and the mid-cap index both ended with cuts of close to 1%. The advance decline ratio was very, very negative. We had, by the end of it, just about 600 stocks advancing and well over 1,300 stocks on the declining side. So it was a very negative screen from a broader market perspective as well. So where did the cuts come in? Financials as a space, not just banks, but even non-banks were quite weak. The metal side of the market was under pressure, and PSU stocks, they continue to see a decline second day running. The bank Nifty was leading with the losses with a cut of close to 1.5%. And you can start by blaming HDFC Bank for that, or maybe not HDFC Bank, but MSCI. The reason I'm saying that was that there was disappointment that the weight of HDFC Bank will eventually go up in the MSCI indices as was anticipated, but it will happen in 2 steps and not in one go. And that's why there was, a little bit of disappointment on that stock. But what started as an HDFC Bank issue in the morning broadened out into a much wider financial decline. And I'll illustrate that by, taking the name of some of the Nifty losers. So you had BPCL, like I was saying, commodities were weak. But aside of that, Shriram Finance, Bajaj Finance, HDFC Life, State Bank of India. So this is the tally of the Nifty losers, and you are seeing so many financial names on that list. So then what worked? A rush to safety, consumer and pharma. That was the only space in the market where you saw a little bit of green. So whether it was names like Titan or Apollo Hospitals, Dr. Reddy's, or some of the other FMCG plays like Nestle, Britannia, Tata Consumer, that's where the money was shifting today. On the mid-cap side, some very sharp reactions. Some of this had to do with earnings. Aarti Industries, that's a result reaction, 15 to 16% drop because the company is now saying it may not be able to meet its guidance. Things are not looking as that great on the chemical side. Uflex was down 9%. RCF had a big drop. But on the other side, you had a lot of buying on some of the durables. So Blue Star, Keynes, and Electra Green Tech benefited from a very strong performance in terms of the Q1 report card. The day really belonged to the primary market action, you'd have to say. Big listings and big moves coming in. Unicommerce Solutions almost 100% up over there. And First Cry ending the day with over a 40% increase. So the IPO buzz kept the sentiment fairly upbeat. We'll have to come back tomorrow and look at what the US inflation numbers, CPI inflation numbers look like. And the bulls will hope that at least on the global front, we won't have any fresh jitters when it comes to the path of the Fed rate cuts or the US macros. Back to you.
All right, so many thanks for joining us. That was the market action for you. But staying with market news, global index aggregator MSCI has lifted curbs on its treatment of Adani stocks in its August review. In a statement, the MSCI said it will implement the index review changes of the Adani Group and associated securities. There were other developments as well linked to the MSCI. 7 stocks have been added to the India index, and these include Vodafone Idea, Dixon Technologies, RVNL, and Zydus Life, among others. Bandhan Bank has been excluded from the index. Additionally, HDFC Bank's weightage on the MSCI Global Standard Index will increase in 2 tranches. Now, shares of the Adani Group declined for the second day today after fresh allegations made by Hindenburg against SEBI chief Madhavipuri Butch. The group has seen its market capitalization worth nearly 30,000 crore rupees being wiped out in the last 2 days. Today, an application was filed before the Supreme Court seeking orders to the market regulator SEBI to complete its probe against the Adani Group. Remember, in January, the Supreme Court had ordered SEBI to complete all pending investigations against the group, preferably within 3 months. Filing the petition, lawyer Vishal Tiwari said the use of the word preferably by the apex court does not mean no timeline was picked for SEBI to complete its probe. This lawyer was also one of the petitioners in the earlier Adani-Hindenburg litigation. Now, the Congress party has announced a nationwide agitation on the 22nd of January demanding the removal of SEBI chief Madhavipuri Butch for issues of conflict of interest. These are the allegations made by Hindenburg. Take a look.
And now in the present scenario, again, as Hindenburg Research has levied some allegations against the SEBI chief. So in this present circumstances, if SEBI will not perform its conduct in a transparent manner, if it will not place any kind of report before the Supreme Court or before the public, then it will create a doubt in the minds of investors and the public. So now it has become very much essential, and we are praying before the Supreme Court that investigation report shall be called and SEBI shall be asked to comply with the order dated 3rd of January 2024.
Thousands of Congress workers will gather over the ED office in each state capital on 22nd, demanding these 2 issues. One is SEBI chairman has to be removed from that position. The person who have no credibility at all cannot continue as a SEBI chairperson.
Well, staying with that story, the Mauritius-based IPE Plus Fund 1 is at the center of the controversy surrounding the SEBI chief Madhavipuri Butch. Now, Butch and her husband invested in this fund, which had also investments made by Vinod Adani, the brother of Gautam Adani. A report by the Indian Express this morning claims that this fund was also part of the investment structure, which is being probed by SEBI. Yash is standing by now with more details. Yash, take us through what the Indian Express is reporting on about the involvement of the fund in question, which was being probed allegedly by SEBI.
Well, Shireen, as you rightly pointed out, and as a pretext, I would like to mention that this is an Indian Express report which has come out, which essentially goes back to that one fund which was mentioned in Hindenburg's research report. that is IPE Fund Plus One, which was opened through India Infoline. Now, the allegation as per the report was that this particular fund, which was a sub-fund of the parent fund GDOF, was being used by Vinod Adani allegedly to sort of siphon off funds and reinvest them in Indian equity markets as well as Adani Group stocks. The Indian Express report essentially talks about how Madhavi Puri Butch and her husband were co-investors in the same fund with Vinod Adani. And as far as the period of investigation which SEBI did for Adani is concerned, SEBI chairperson, her investments and Vinod Adani's investments were in the same fund, and hence there was a potential conflict of interest as far as the investigation is itself is concerned. We still don't have clarifications to a few important questions coming from SEBI, whether or not SEBI chairperson or SEBI as an institution knew about Vinod Adani being a part of this particular fund and hence creating any kind of potential conflict of interest. But the Indian Express report essentially states that both of them coexisted in the period of assessment for the investigation which SEBI was conducting against the Adani Group.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. Well, let's get down to IPO Street. Brainbees Solutions, which owns and runs e-commerce platform First Cry, saw a strong debut on Dalal-Street. The stock listing at a 40% premium on the NSE, ending the day with a gain of over 45%. The IPO was subscribed over 12 times. First Cry is an omni-channel business selling newborn, baby and kids products. Mahindra Group Chairman Anand Mahindra, along with veteran industrialist Ratan Tata and former cricketer Sachin Tendulkar, are among the pre-IPO investors.
Mandate for Mahindra Partners really was that they should be investing in, incubating companies, particularly in the new age fields. And then they invested and nurtured Mum and Me, which was a business in clothing and other goods for newly born children, for infants and beyond. Identical space that Sopam was fighting in.
Well, that's Anand Mahindra on the First Cry listing. From one strong debut to another, shares of Unicommerce listing at 118% premium over the IPO price of 108 rupees. The issue of the SoftBank-backed company was subscribed more than 168 times. Unicommerce is an e-commerce enabling SaaS platform.
We are only about 4 months into this year. We are seeing a slight upswing in the volumes from last year. However, we are not yet seeing the significant surge in growth we had seen 2-3 years ago. We do anticipate that a significant part of the incremental revenue growth we will see this year, as was the case last year, will grow into the bottom line and ensure that we are continuing to grow our margins. So yes, last year our PAT actually doubled from FY23 to FY24, and our anticipation would be that we would continue to grow the profit even this year.
Well, that's Kunal Behel on the Unicommerce listing. Here's a CNBC-TV18 News break that is now official. The next GST Council meeting will be held on the 9th of September. We had reported earlier that the upcoming meeting was likely to take up issues related to GST notices to companies like Infosys, foreign airlines and foreign shipping companies as well. The Council is also expected to take stock of the rate rationalization exercise and demand from several states that seeks withdrawal of GST on life and health insurance policies. So 9 September, the date for the next GST Council meeting. India's net tax collections have risen more than 22% to 6.92 lakh crore rupees so far this fiscal year. Gross direct tax collection has also risen nearly 24% to 8.13 lakh crore rupees as on the 11th of August. Now, the government has mopped up 21,600 crore rupees through the securities transaction tax, marking a 111% jump on an annual basis. And not a surprise there, considering the kind of market activity and participation we have seen. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says that India's challenges are severe and necessitate current tax levels. Speaking at an event, the Finance Minister added that the government was committed to generating revenue without burdening people. Take a look.
The government is not just talking. It's putting money into R&D. Only on that. will I emphasize and give you some data so that you have the confidence that this country and the money that it earns out of taxation, that's my job, so I will tell you that. My job, it is for generating revenue, but not troubling people. I'll assure you that.
Well, that is the Finance Minister. On to CNBC-TV18 exclusive. We learned from sources that Bajaj Auto is likely to increase its capacity for its newly launched CNG motorcycle. Parikshit is standing by now with more details. It is the world's first CNG bike. Parikshit was launched recently. What are we talking about now in terms of enhancing capacity?
Well, Bajaj Auto has received an overwhelming response for their CNG motorcycle called the Freedom 125. Now, this had been launched on the 5th of July, commercially rolled out on the 16th of July, and the company has received over 60,000 inquiries for this motorcycle. Now, the number of units sold in the retail market is already 1,600, and they are likely to sell at least 5,000 units by the end of August this year. Now, the company is looking to significantly increase capacity. In fact, they will increase capacity for the CNG motorcycle to 10,000 units by the end of August and further ramp it up to 20,000 units by end of September or October for that matter. They have over 13,000 bookings right now, so we could see a significant retail and production ramp up of the Freedom 125 in the coming months. Already, the motorcycle is available in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Delhi, Karnataka and Kerala in approximately 86 towns. There are at least 111 towns in these cities where, in these states, where the motorcycle sales could be expanded to. And very soon, in the next few weeks or months, the company could expand sales to all over the country. So this seems to be a strong point for Bajaj Auto for the moment.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. In relief coming in for Patanjali, the Supreme Court has closed a contempt case against Baba Ramdev and Patanjali in a misleading ads case. The Apex Court accepted the unconditional apology and an undertaking assuring the court that Patanjali would refrain from issuing any more misleading ads. However, while the court accepted their apology, a bench of justices warned that the case would be reopened if any terms of the undertaking were breached in future. Metal manufacturer Hindalco's net profit in the first quarter more than doubled to 1,471 crores as compared to 600 crore rupees year-on-year. Revenue up 11.3% at 22,155 crores. Margins at 12.4%, risen sharply from 7.8% on a year-on-year basis. The board of Hindalco has appointed Ananya Birla and Aryaman Birla as directors of the company. Aditya Birla Group Chairman Kumaram Birla has called it an appropriate time for the appointment of his children on the board. He said he's confident that they will provide valuable perspectives that align with Hindalco's strategic vision for a sustainable future. Mumbai's international airport has withdrawn its passenger advisory regarding the temporary disruption of SpiceJet's operations. Now, the Mumbai airport has now deleted an advisory which did not specify the reason for the potential disruption. However, the airline maintains that it worked with the airport operator to resolve what it called a minor financial matter. The airline statement further asserted that it holds a substantial security deposit with the airport that exceeds the required amount. We will head to a break, but up next, as Indigo gears up for its business class operations, a CNBC-TV18 analysis shows the airline stands to make more money on the same aircraft with fewer seats and potentially disrupt the premium flying segment. Detailed look when we return. After facing criticism from industry stakeholders and online content creators, the government has decided to withdraw the broadcast bill. This was a draft bill which was under consultation. In a statement, the government has said that a fresh draft will be published after detailed consultations. The Broadcasting Ministry also said it would provide more time for comments and suggestions till the 15th of October. Now, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is likely to finalise the contours of the government's newly announced internship scheme by the end of the year. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that MCA has begun consultations with corporate HR leaders in Delhi and Mumbai to finalise the framework of the scheme. Shivani standing by with more details. Shivani, what are we talking about in terms of operationalising the budget announcement?
Well, absolutely. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs is fast-tracking its work on the new internship scheme proposed in the Budget 2024. The MCA has set up a dedicated team of Indian Corporate Law Services ICLS officers at its headquarters in New Delhi to drive the scheme's implementation. In recent weeks, the MCA has also consulted with around 50 corporate HR leaders in Delhi as well as in Mumbai to help shape the program. The consultations are set to expand from here, with the ministry aiming to finalize the scheme by the end of this year. Now, sources suggest that the key elements under consideration include featuring the top 500 companies based on their average CSR spending over the past 3 years on a dedicated internship portal. The MCA will also recommend the number of internship opportunities each company should offer. A nodal officer is also likely to be appointed within each company to ensure the effective implementation of the scheme. Additionally, the scheme will include workplace safety measures, a reward system for top performing companies as well as interns, and also the assignment of supervisors and mentors to each intern. The MCA will also establish a help desk to address any issues or grievances related to the program. Remember, this scheme is a part of the broader government push to enhance employment and skilling opportunities for India's youth, with a central outlay of 2 lakh crore rupees aimed at benefiting 4.1 crore individuals over the next 5 years. Back to you.
All right, Shivani, many thanks. Now, the big national story: doctors and healthcare professionals protest across the country for the second day. This after a 31-year-old junior doctor was raped and murdered in a Kolkata hospital by a civic volunteer. The Calcutta High Court has pulled up the state government and transferred the probe to the CBI. In international news, Mohammad Yunus, the chief advisor to the Bangladesh interim government, visited Dhaka's landmark temple. He said establishing human rights is the government's prime goal. Meanwhile, the police has filed a murder case against Sheikh Hasina and 6 others in connection with the death of a grocery shop owner who was killed in police firing last month. And finally, India's largest airline, Indigo, traditionally known as a low-cost carrier, has started taking bookings for its business class on select high-traffic routes like Mumbai and Delhi. The starting fare of 18,000 rupees is not only expected to disrupt the premium flying segment, but also positions the airline for a potential revenue boost. Madhiha is standing by with the math that tells us how Indigo stands to make more money by using the same plane with fewer seats.
Indigo has unveiled its business class cabins called Indigo Stretch. It will feature 12 business class seats with a spacious pitch of 38 inches and a width of 21.3 inches, providing extra comfort to passengers. This is surely a new territory for Indigo that has flown for the last 18 years as a full economy airline. So what calculations could have gone behind entering the business segment? If we do a rough math, the airline's revenue per flight stands to increase significantly with the business class. As of now, Indigo said it is getting the business class directly configured by Airbus on the new A321neo planes that it will be receiving in the coming months. Let's take you to the plane's layout to understand this arithmetic. Indigo's current A321neo aircraft has 232 economy seats. The new planes will have 208 economy seats and 12 business class seats, which means 24 economy seats will be replaced by 12 business class seats. Now, here's a straight calculation. If you're taking 24 less economy seats and considering an average ticket price of 5,000 rupees, the revenue comes to about 1,20,000 rupees. And adding 12 seats priced at 18,000 rupees comes to about 2,16,000 rupees. The difference comes to 96,000 rupees. Now, there's another way of looking at this math which will give us the same number. If the airline sells 232 seats at an average price of 5,000 rupees, then it makes 11,60,000 rupees. But when it sells 208 economy seats for 5,000 rupees, it comes to 10,40,000 rupees and 12 business class seats for 2,16,000 rupees. The total comes to 12,56,000 rupees, and then when you subtract that from 11,60,000 rupees of the 232 economy seats, the difference comes to a gain of 96,000 rupees. Now, that is a direct visible gain, but by removing 24 seats and adding 12, the airline will also have 12 less passengers, and considering an average weight of 60 kg per passenger plus 15 kg of their luggage comes to 900 kg of less weight, which the airline can use for extra fuel range or carrying extra cargo. Now, this is of course a rough calculation just on the revenue front. We also need to factor in the expenditure the airline will incur for things like separate catering and special services for the business class.
Well, Madiha, many thanks for taking us through the math that could possibly explain Indigo's move into business class. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with a lot more.